Welcome, the very, very first show, Pundit Views. Now, for anybody that doesn't, a few people that don't know me, of course, I'm the Pundits Pundit Jacob Christner. Thank you very much for putting me first. we are, thank you, Jen. We love you to death. It's like, for anybody, I am the Pundits Pundit Jacob Christner. I have a few shows with Sideline Sports, and I decided I've started a show. It's basically kind of like if anybody's seen those little filmed interviews from James Lipton and all the other type of shows that we see, all the other sports interviews. Well, I decided to start my own. And my big thing, my first guest, I had a first guest, but we had to delay that a week. My first guest is, I would call him a military hero. You know, he is my, the thing is, he is my producer of these shows, but he's also got a very interesting life. And we're also both big sports fans, and we both like to talk trash. So, hey, we get Jamon Nelson. I call him Jay Nelson or Denzel Snipes. How's it going tonight, bud?
Doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. We got a debut of a brand new show. I'm honored to be the first guest. So, let me be the first to congratulate you on a new show that, just added to the network. Something to get a little in-depth and personal with some of these people's lives and what they got going on and everything. And, hey, I'm all game, man.
Oh, absolutely. And what we're going to do is I'm going to have a good mixture. I'm going to use this to let people get the combination of let people know who Sideline Sports people are. This is kind of the thing for the world to know who the Sideline Sports people are, and a combination of I'm going to try to get like celebrities on, old school celebrities and stuff like that through our deals. So see if I can get that as time goes on, and then we'll get commercials and we'll get all that as time goes. So I'm building onto this. This is like a one-on-one chat, stream of conscience, have a little fun, and then I'll have a lot of different other people too.
All right, absolutely.
So tell me more about yourself. Where did you born? How'd you get started? What did you go to high school, play sports? What'd you do?
So, as you all can tell, either from me as the Rockets rep on the NBA carousel and also on the football, and from my Houston Texans gear, and also obviously my Houston Nationals hat. I'm born and raised here in Houston, Texas. I was born on 9/11 of 1982. I have a total of 3 siblings, 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister. My 2 older brothers, they live in Midland, Texas, and my younger sister lives here in Houston as well. And born into.
Are you her protector?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some guy gazes her way, and I go and take his head off. You know how it goes, the big brother stuff,
Yeah.
But basically, born into a family of sports lovers and everything. Football in particular being my first love. It's crazy because my mom and how she even got into football was she was going to Texas Southern University, and she was dating a guy who really loved football. And so she, naturally started watching it with him, and he loved the Dallas Cowboys. So she, started watching them. And after they stopped seeing each other, it wasn't one of those, breakups where it was like, well, now that we're broken up, I'm going to stop doing what I was doing with you. No, she loved it so much, she kept watching it. She's been a fan ever since and everything. And so, yeah, I was more to a family like that. Of course, my late dad, my uncles, some of my aunts, everybody. So I've been around sports my entire life.
So did you kind of like troll your family, decide to go Houston way, didn't want to go Dallas, or what happened?
That right there, because most of my family is they are Cowboys fans, but they of course understand me having been born and raised in Houston. And aside from that, like I've been to like Oilers games, I've been to Astros games in the Astrodome. I've watched Mike Scott, I've watched Nolan and all of them and everything, and I've been to Rockets games. I mean, no one's being penalized for representing the teams of where they're from, so they're not mad. And my family has like what's called like Texas pride. They're the only ones that I let get away with rooting for like multiple teams because they're Cowboys first. But if the Texans end up doing good, like that's cool. That's good also. So yeah, they're Cowboys fans, but they're the few good Cowboys fans. They're not nothing like what's on social media today or anything like that, man.
They're not Stephen A. They're not Stephen A.'s enemies.
No. They're not. They're not at all.
So you played sports in high school, correct?
Yes, I did. So, in high school, and actually going back to middle school, I played football. We lost the district title game. I was middle linebacker. Let's say, and then fast forward to high school. Well, eighth grade, I didn't want to play because I hated the school. I hated the school. It was preppy, and it was political, and I knew I wasn't in playing time because it was about and everything. So I ran cross country actually in eighth grade. Um, wasn't exactly an ideal sport for me because I'm not a long distance runner like that. But we won district, so whatever. And then in high school, yes, I did play. I amateur wrestled my senior year. I ended up lettering my only year wrestling. I ended up lettering, and I got second in my district, so I took silver for my weight class.
So, and that's awesome. That's awesome. And what about, so overall, you were saying it's political. Would you consider it kind of like Varsity Blues, that type of show? Remember the running back that said, "I'm not gonna unless I run into the end zone, I'm not gonna get the touchdowns. I'm not gonna get off." Would you consider it like that?
A little worse than that. More like in my my dad's the coach type deal. Yeah, and just I mean, it's people around there, and they, you know how it goes. Their parents have a lot of money. They throw a lot of money this way and that way, and next thing you know, their kids playing. I mean, there was a lot of talent out there. Like they ended up winning district and whatnot. It was just, I just didn't foresee me like being out there, and I didn't even, like I said, I hated the school, so I didn't want to play football for a school I hated. Cross country, that was just something to do. I
And let
wasn't
me
really.
ask you, let me ask you this question, stream of conscience, like I was saying here. Let me ask you this:
Mhm.
you think that even though you hated it, you hated the school. Do
Mhm.
you think that and either that these kind of schools will it'll ever end that kind of idea, or do you want it to end? I mean, because got to remember, we have the idea of that kind of school. Well, another school could do the same thing somewhere else. Do you
Right.
think it should end, or do you think it should be fair? Or do you think it's just part of life?
More of it's a part of life. Unfortunately, we still live in a society where money talks and BS walks. So you're gonna have a lot of cases where someone's paying off the coach and their son's starting, no matter how sorry he is. Or yeah, I put a lot of money into rebuilding the gym or whatever, this basketball court. My son's starting. There's gonna be politics. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of if the school's going to catch on and actually do something about it, because sooner or later you're going to come across that one where someone's son is just not that good, and it's going to end up affecting the team, and then that's when heads start rolling and jobs starts coming open.
Before I go to the next thing, I want to ask you this. This is a what if. This is the what if on something like this. Say that, I mean, in your life, especially with sideline sports, we're all going to get paid. We're all going to get the bag. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So with all this, and you get plenty of money in life, you get yourself, your kids, your all that kind of stuff. Would you do the same for them in that situation?
In that situation, no. I would let them know, kind of like how Dion Coach Prime does with his kids. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you got a successful father and everything, but I'm still gonna teach you how to like work hard. You know what I mean? How to
Mm-hmm.
actually earn something. Because let's face it, one of these days I'm not gonna be here. So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be there to bail you out. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
be there to, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to learn how to fend for yourself and how to work for yourself. And I
Yeah.
think that's the fair. And when we talk about parents like this, that essentially is robbing the kid. First of all, the kid may be a genuinely good kid. And of course, everyone else going to be resentful to them. And it's not fair.
Yeah.
But that's how that works sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be resentful to that child. A lot of parents who do these things, they don't realize the damage that they're actually doing. And
How do
some
you
of them,
go ahead?
oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. And some of them may see that, but they don't care because all they see is the power and they're getting things their way. And they think the end justifies the means, if that makes any sense.
How do you feel? I'm just saying this. See, and this is how I feel, real quick. I mean, I was going to ask you how you feel about this. The I mean, do you know that these parents, in the end, parents do love their kids, with exceptions. They love their kids. It's like in one case, you get Zach Wilson. Remember, he had a rich family. You know, he's given everything. I mean, it's just the whole deal. There are ones like that. I mean, it's everything that the parents want to do. And the other thing is, the parents think that they're doing the best for the kids. And the thing is, Zach Wilson. Let's just be very honest. Zach Wilson, if he made the NFL, he is an uber athlete. Anybody
Right.
else that made the NFL,
Right.
I mean, just look at how easy he throws a 50-yard pass.
Right.
Now, if you look at it on video, you look at it on everything. It's like, does he process plays? Is it no? It's obvious what that is, but he threw a 50-yard pass just like that. You know, just like all that kind of thing. That's an uber athlete. So there's that. In that one case, he is that. But at the same time, you got to wonder how many parents do that, because they have to wonder how much their kid would ever give a chance, or they beat somebody else to the punch that might be doing it for their kid.
Might be. Zach Wilson, and I know as a Bears fan, you're going to, this is going to sound familiar. At his absolute best, Zach Wilson is Jay Cutler 2.0.
Yeah. Yep.
$1 million arm, 10-cent brain.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But the thing about it is this, and I don't know too much about the kid's background, but all I can say is this much.
He loves
milks. Well, yeah, that too, but and I don't know. I'm not here to say like, hey, his parents kind of paid his way into him starting in his earlier days and whatnot, but it's getting exposed right now because the NFL is not going to stand for that, The NFL is not going to stand for it. And the fact of the matter is, and yes, we're sitting here talking about if you make it to the pros, you are among the best. And me and my best friend was actually talking about this 2 days ago. It's like, you could take like the sorriest guy in the NFL, and in a total grand scheme of things, he's the worst of the best, But the thing with Zach Wilson is, and this is why I bridge it back to, parents and the kids and everything that we're talking about here, is, you get to the level of the NFL and you come to find out the kid never was really that good.
Right.
Nobody was checking for him out of BYU.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't. No one was checking for him, But also at the same time, I'm not going to fault him.
Yeah.
Maybe for that, the whole locker room deal, he didn't accept responsibility. He deserved to be benched and he deserved to have his captaincy stripped. But outside of that, I'm not blaming Zach Wilson. I blame the general manager. That's the one you should get rid of because Zach Wilson was never good to begin with.
Yeah.
And one more point where I bridge this home, this is where you have to buckle down as parents and tell your kids like, hey, listen, you're talented, but you got to work on this. You got to work on that. You got to work on this. Knowing that they're not that good, but pumping them up and saying, yeah, you're an all-star. Get out there. You're going to make them go out there and lose games. It's not fair.
Well, and I think about this way. I would think about it this way, and like this is just, I'll just say Mitchell Trubisky. I'll say this part. Is he a number 2? No. I'm just saying that. Not a number 2. Not, as far as his talent, not a number 2 draft pick. But here's the difference between Trubisky and Zach Wilson. Biggest difference is the fact that Trubisky can make a career out of either being a starter on like a team with a system or a spot starter and win games. You could do something like that game against Carolina. You could do something with that.
Yes.
You can run the ball. He throws 175, 225, maybe 300 once in a while. Mm-hmm. Don't make that many mistakes, get all that kind of stuff. You can do something with that, make a play. Not going to say you're going to win the Super Bowl with it, but that'll get you work.
Yeah.
You admit where you're at.
You have to admit where you're at. Like Trubisky, and it's fitting too because he's on the Steelers. At his absolute best, he's Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Not an elite quarterback, but you have to build the team around him.
Yeah, and guess what? There's nothing wrong with building a team around them.
Nothing wrong.
It's like
Bradshaw not for Super Bowls.
There's not. That 3 interception game he had that's no. You know what I mean? That's a no. He doesn't do that too often. It's like that's the big thing. It's like at your best, you are, and that's guess what? When we say that, and there's going to be people laughing because Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, but guess what? Bradshaw's not the elite quarterback. He even had more interceptions than touchdowns many years. He's not an elite quarterback. He is a gutsy player that grinds it out, and not exceptionally athletic, but a
He's a
big
blue
tough guy.
chipper.
And
Mm-hmm.
he's a big tough guy, and he has a really good team around him. And he's just
Yeah.
not going to make the mistakes in the big moments. That's what Bradshaw was, and at your best. But the thing is, he's never going to be Patrick Mahomes or whatever. He's not going to be. That's uber elite.
Yes, absolutely. Mahomes was born to throw a football. Tom Brady was born to throw a football.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Mitchell Trubisky sucks at throwing the football, but he's no Mahomes. He's no Allen. He can run, but he's no Lamar.
Yeah.
You know? But it's okay if you can take elements and form Mitchell Trubisky, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Take elements, and that's what, personally to me, I'm a coach by mind. I want that kind of player. I don't. It's like, unless I see, vast majority think they're Mahomes. If the vast majority think Mahomes, and I know they're not Mahomes, I don't want them. I want Mitch because I know he knows he's not Mahomes. I want a guy. Okay, hand it off. Okay, I mean, let's get seven slot receivers around you, or just room that dang ball down the field.
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't care if you're not the big star. I don't care if you get 400 yards that way. Let's just win a ball game.
Yeah.
Each and every week. That's what I care about. Now, let's go on to another thing I wanted to bring up. You, after high school, did you go to college? You go to military right away?
So there was about a 3-year gap. I didn't go to the military until I was 21. Let's see here. I swore off the military for like so long. And then eventually they were like, hey, why don't you just kind of give it a try? So me and my mom wandered into the naval recruiting office, and we listened to what they had to say and everything. And I was like, I'm still kind of worried about going out in like deep water. Like I'm not a water creature. I'll go swimming in the pool, but that's it.
Right.
But we ended up waltzing into the Air Force office, and I liked their offer better, so I joined the Air Force.
No, you're an Air Force guy. Did you fly?
I wasn't piloting. I was not piloting. So my Air Force specialty code, my FSC, was 3PO71 Security Forces. The way it goes is it goes by skill level. So of course, like when you're in training, you're 3PO11, and then when you graduate, you're 3 level, and then you do like different exams, and you get certified, you do the position and everything, and then you're like a 5. Then you go up in rank, and you're like a 7, and eventually like a 9. Well, I made 7. And everything, and it's Air Force.
What is 9? What's 9?
9 is master. So 1's training, 3 is apprentice, 5 is journeyman, 7 craftsman, and 9 is master.
So you basically 9's basically black belt.
If you were to go by color belts in martial arts, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you're going to, well, see, that's the thing, and then once you hit master, you're probably just beginning.
No. You don't hit master till like later in your career. Like you've hit E7, and you're in year like 16 or 17.
I see.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You fought in the military, did you not?
I am an Afghanistan war veteran. Yes.
Yes. So was this after 9/11? Was this after 9/11 or right at the side?
I mean, it's post 9/11. I didn't go to Afghanistan until 2011. So one thing about my career field is anyone will tell you that we're the jack of all trades, master of none. That's a little fun pun that kind of comes along with it. What it is United States Air Force Security Forces. So back home station or in garrison, we do like base law enforcement. We do resource protection. We do installation entry security. And then whenever you deploy, you could be doing air-based defense, installation, entry security. You can run convoys. You could be doing off-base missions. The exact same thing that the Army and the Marines do. It's just a plethora of things. I did base LE. I also did resource protection. I've done military corrections. I've done U.S. border protection, customs. I've done combat operations. I've done control center operations. I mean, I've had a plethora of duties, and there's never really one duty that's permanent. I mean, like for example, in I want to say the year 2012, I did like 3 or 4 different duty positions that year. So it just literally depends on like at any time they can say, hey, you're gonna go do this, or hey, you're tasked to deploy or something like that.
Let me ask you this. I've listened to Jesse Ventura's interviews before.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened. He was Navy SEAL. You know what I'm saying? I've listened to these things.
Technically, he wasn't, but go ahead.
He wasn't, but I get okay. Underwater the bomb thing. I get.
He's a frogman, yeah.
Yeah, the frogman, yeah. But you're right. You're right. But he was around that world, and I wanted to ask this: what keeps a military man like you, or he went military, and then after that he joined a motorcycle gang for a while, all that kind of stuff like that.
Right.
What keeps military men like you, who's done duties and everything like that? What keeps you from just staying around? Is there a certain plateau you hit at some point and you decide to go, or is it just like, well, I want to see what I can do in the private world? How does that work?
That depends. In a case like mine, I felt like the culture was changing, and it wasn't for me anymore. And then sometimes you just separate, and there's nothing wrong with that. I was like, hey, I'm just gonna get out and go to school. Some people they feel like, it's just not it's not how it was when I first joined. It can range from different personnel coming around there because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, don't get me wrong, serving in the military is honorable, and everything like that. But it's a job, and it's like a workplace, and you're going to have good coworkers, you're going to have bad coworkers. That's just the reality of things. It's like, I'm in the same foxhole with this guy. So yeah, I'm going to keep a bullet out of him, but he's a jackass. I'm not gonna have a beer with him, And some of them, it's like, yeah, I've had tons of beers and good times with folks off duty,
The jackass. I apologize. The jackass you're talking about, like all that kind of deal. Is that just the training that you have that no matter what, leave no one behind, or is that just kind of a moral type of standard that this is your team, no matter what?
Well, it's a little bit of both. You know what I mean? Like, you're trained that you never leave a teammate behind. Even if you and this person disagree about whatever, like, you don't want to be the reason why, guys in uniform are visiting his parents with a wreath. You want to make sure that he gets home to his own family. And that's the number one thing I do miss about the military is the camaraderie. Because you got people coming from all different walks of life, all different places. It's all a bunch of egos coming together, and you form that common bond and everything. And whenever they say do it for your brother or sister next to you, that's exactly, what it's about. And I really miss the camaraderie about it because I could sit here and I can have a beer with, this hick from Alabama, and then he's in a circle with us, and I've got this fast-talking, smart-mouth Jersey girl over here. I've got this, surfer dude from like California over here. I got this guy from Texas, that's got a bit of a twang to him. I got this guy from Louisiana, and we're all just from different places and different walks of life.
Yeah, and see, and I understand what you're saying. You want them to get home to their family. I get this point because, like I said, one of my next guests is going to be a pro wrestler. He's been my buddy for a long time, and that'd be a good long time. That's an episode you'll have to see because he's got some stories himself. But nice. The biggest thing I always ask the question on with him is because I've never been in the ring before, like pro wrestlers. Never been in the ring before, but I always ask that question. It's like you are there to. It's like no matter how much of a you say jackass, how much of a jerk someone is. It's like it would just be. I would hate if I would hate it. If I'm in the locker room, I'm going to be the most popular guy in the locker room. This is just me personally. I don't know about everybody else, but I want to be the most popular guy in the locker room personally because I want to protect. You are trusting with your body, and it's like, and I just wonder based off of that. I mean, yours is a way different thing. Yours is life and death. Yours is all that. But that's my thing in the deal. I want to be able to trust if you're on my squad, I want you to be able to trust me because we want to be able to get home. And I'm like, I would wonder if I hate that guy in the locker room, is he going to drop me on my neck?
Right.
Is he going to drop me on my neck? And it's like, guess what? The vast majority of them don't. And they might hate each other. The vast majority don't. But I'm going to wonder.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you would think like a civilian would think, like, wow, what if they really don't get along and they're out there with loaded guns? Ain't the case. Like all of us have hearts like, look, I just want to get the job done so like he can go home to his family and I don't have to see his ass for another, X amount or whatever.
Well, you don't hate as in you don't want him killed. You just don't want to see him, but you don't want that.
Right. And you know what? To be honest with you, because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We may get into disagreements to where I might want to go kick this guy's ass. But no one wants anyone dead. You know how men are. We go out there, we scrap it out, and once we let it all out, then we're fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've had an interview with I'm going to have an interview with with one of my shows, Yin and Yang. We're going to have an interview with that one day. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I've heard from that end is that a lot of women envy us men. Envy us because we scrap. We'll scrap, we yell, we fight, we do the thing, but there's a beer, and I'm not like I'm a drinker, but I'm just saying I'll say a beer. There's a beer at the end of the bar.
Right.
No matter what, it's like a couple of them are bloody, our knuckles are bruised, and it's over, and it's like 2 minutes.
It's done.
I actually asked her this during one of our deals. Do you think that there is a good old boys network in the military, in sports, in business? I asked her, do you think there could be a good old girls network? She said, not right now, because girls can get catty. The one thing about it is boys will scrap it and then quit.
And that's it. And it's funny you bring that up because any boot camp instructor, any drill sergeant will tell you that it's actually harder. It's more difficult pushing an all-female group of recruits, flight platoon, depending on whatever branch you're in, than an all-male one. Reason being is because with an all-male one, now there's some clashing in the beginning because we're filled with egos and whatnot, But over time, so we're just a bunch of bulls and pit bulls just want to go at it. But over time, the team starts to gel together and operate as a team.
Yeah.
The opposite happens with an all-female flight or platoon or whatever because they're friends in the beginning, then they start forming cliques.
Right.
And anybody watching at home, this is not misogyny. You can ask any boot camp instructor and they will tell you this. They get catty. You may start off basic training, boot camp, or what have you, with like 15 friends. You may graduate with 2.
And let me say this absolutely. I understand why you did that, but that's why I never explain myself on anything. Because I bring this is part of the show that I'm bringing up. And I don't blame you for doing it. You know what I'm saying? But this is why I make the shows that I do and make the conversations that I do and everything. I don't want real misogyny, real racism, real anything anywhere near me. I don't want it at all. Everybody, and I want a team together. But I also don't want professionally offended people.
Exactly.
And it's like they're going to be professionally offended anyway, and I am not going to spend my life walking on eggshells. The truth is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Not your feelings. Truth is the truth. I don't care if it's conservative, liberal. I don't care if it's anywhere. The truth is the truth.
Pretty ugly, yeah.
And this is where all of our shows, I want to be able, and I'll tell you, some of these shows, I feel like some of the other shows are starting to take after Pundit. You're seeing that. People are making conversation. Yeah. People are making conversation on sideline sports. They're doing it more. And it's like, that's what I want to see is conversation because we're getting too much chaos. It is time we start talking and get real truth out there. And It's like if someone doesn't like, okay, go right ahead. It's not going to stop anybody from having to say it.
Right. I mean, either way, it has to get said.
It has to.
Either way, you got to have a conversation. Everyone wants change, but no one has the conversation to initiate it.
Yeah, exactly. And so how long were you in the military?
12 years.
So you're 12 years, and then was that the when you said that it's like this is not the same anymore? Is it like this is it?
Yes, and then also I was like, well, you know what? I got this GI Bill in the bank. I can always like get out and then achieve my dream of going to college because I always wanted to follow in my mom and my late godmother's footsteps and go to college. They both went to TSU. They both were retired educators and
TSU,
everything.
Texas Southern.
Texas Southern University. Yep.
Yeah. So you went to
And,
Texas Southern?
I went to Abilene Christian.
Okay.
So when I separated the military, I was stationed at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, and I actually I had a cousin that was going there at the same time, and I was like, I'll just go to ACU. But ACU, really great atmosphere, really great atmosphere. It's a private school, small. We were like 4,000 students, but it was wonderful. And when quick story time.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was working at a prison at the French M. Robertson unit in Abilene, well, just outside of Abilene. Technically, it's in Hamby, but the address says Abilene. But I was working there, and then there were a couple of ex-Marines that were correctional officers in there, and they were just telling me all about it. It was like, yeah, you sign up, and you GI Bill, they actually pay you for it. You get this amount of money, such and such. I was like, okay, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just get it done. So I gave them a call. I gave ACU admissions a call, and I began the process. So I transferred my credits from. So whenever a veteran whenever they enroll in college, they're a transfer student. So their classification is their transfer student. Because I went in, I had 19 credits already from the military, from doing various training and various classes and whatnot and so forth. So I already came in with 19 credits. It's already like a semester and then some, knocked out already. Transferred over. They accepted everything. Went through the process. Turnaround time was really fast. I was working in the kitchen and I told them, I was like, hey, if I get the email or the phone call I'm looking for, this is my last weekend like working here. And so I was off. Oh, it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because then we worked the 4 and 4. And so I woke up Monday and I hadn't heard any. When I didn't hear anything, I didn't expect to hear anything Saturday or Sunday. Okay. Well, Monday, when I was like, hey, if I don't hear anything, I'll just work another cycle until like the news comes. Well, I rolled over and checked my email. And the guy, since he has the email, the guy from admissions, and he's like, hey, you gotta, excuse me, I usually make this phone call, an actual phone call, but I'm getting over a sickness and whatnot. He says, congratulations, you are an ACU Wildcat. And I shot up so fast. And I called the sergeant's office and I was like, I'm resigning. And then I immediately went on and I picked my classes and everything, and I started that August.
What did you study?
Convergence journalism, and I minored in English.
Journalism, huh?
Yes. So basically, people hear convergence journalism and they're like, okay. So I know it's journalism, but what's that? So a long time ago, back in like the 80s, 90s, and up to whenever they decided to do this, if you want to be a journalist, it actually was separate degrees. You had broadcast journalism, print journalism, radio journalism, photojournalism.
Convergence journalism.
Well, not just yet, because you had, all these other journalism degrees. Like if you want to be a photographer, okay, well, you're going to be a photojournalist. So photojournalism. You want to be in broadcast, radio, print, so you can write newspapers and whatnot. They all were individual degrees. Well, what they did was they combined all those degrees into one degree, convergence journalism. So in the 4 years, you learn how to do print, you learn how to do broadcast, you learn how to do radio, you learn how to do photo, amongst other things. And It was great. It was a great ride. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in college.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's like, so you learned all those, and it's like, so did this bring you to like a TV station? Did it bring you to like making your own, creating your own print stuff? What did it get you to do?
Well, one thing that I love about the university is they have classes where you get that experience, So whenever we were doing assignments in, say, broadcast and sports, we were, as a class, putting together the telecast for ACU TV for like that Friday, and we aired live. Someone was on the camera. Someone was on sound. Someone was anchor. Someone was sports anchor. Someone was doing this. Someone was editing. Someone was shooting this and whatnot. Yeah, we all just put it together, and that's what it made for that telecast and everything. So I got the chance to be an anchor. I got the chance to be the sports anchor also. So talking about ACU sports, also over at KACU, the radio station. So you could be an announcer there. So part of your assignment might be, all right, this week you're gonna go over there and be anchor. It's like, oh shoot, awesome, So I'll go over there and get the stories together and talk about them and everything. And then there's a guy across from you, and it is great. It's an awesome experience, But I parlayed all of that into, because when I was younger, I always hear stories from my mom and my family, like, when you was a little kid, you sit in front of that TV and used to like mimic, like I would parrot everything the announcer was saying, and I was picking my classes, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get. And all my life is like, you should have been an announcer. You should have been an announcer, journalist, something. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot.
My grandma used to say it all the time to me. We were in this little town called Quincy, Illinois. I'm from there. She used to say it to me all the time, like, because I knew sports from 6 years old. I started sports. At 3 years old, I was reading at 4 and I was spelling. And it was all those, and it's like they kept saying I needed to get a sports announcer, all that stuff. Didn't think much about it. Then I got older and I said to myself, well, I want to learn more things, because you don't want to be one in a bubble.
Exactly.
You don't want to be one in a bubble. So I pay attention to sports? Absolutely. I'm like, during those years, I'm watching the Cubs win the World Series. I'm watching, that kind of deal. But I'm also trying to learn. I'm actually trying to learn economics. I'm trying to learn politics, how things work. Am I ever going to be Ways and Means Committee? No. No, but at least I know what they do. Little things. And little things like that. It's just like the idea is like I didn't want to be just like, okay, the sports guy or whatever, because I already knew, and I had family members who used to say salespeople want sports, and there'd be family members that didn't know sports well, like there was a couple, 3 of them, specific ones. Not gonna say who or anything like that. They didn't know sports exceptionally well. They used to say to me, "You're already perfect in sales for this," because they're all former athletes. They all love sports. You can talk about them right away with all that kind of stuff, and a lot of them. And I already know I can. I could take me 5 minutes to understand. The only thing I don't understand after looking at it for 5 minutes is cricket. I still don't get it. But other than that, I could watch soccer for 5 minutes and get the rules. I could just absorb that. But I wanted to know all kinds of different things and get the idea of my life and stuff like that. Now, like I said, I'm never going to be Secretary of State. I'm not going to get all that. I'm not going to be Joint Chiefs of Staff, but get an idea of what's going on.
Right.
Just in this life.
Even and that actually is an undercover way to learn about an entity or master it or whatever, is being a beat reporter. Because when you're around it all the time, you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like I've covered, like you could be a press secretary at the White House for 20 years. Through many administrations, you probably know every nook and cranny of that building.
Sure.
I mean, maybe not, but easily 75% of it. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to the White House today, like we're going to the corner store. Yeah. Whenever, or if you're a beat writer for, the Chicago Cubs or the Chicago Bears or something, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna know the ins and outs of that headquarters. You're gonna have talked to everyone, the owner, from the owner on down to the quarterback and the head coach and everything. Like Skip Bayless did it. Like he covered the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's the beauty. I think that's the number one beauty about journalism is the longevity. You can do it into your 70s if you wanted to.
Oh, you can do it unless your brain goes, you can do it forever.
Yeah, you can do it forever. Exactly. Yeah, it's not physically demanding one bit. And it's like, okay, I'm 40 right now, but I mean, I could do this for 30 years, still retire and everything. And in 30 years, it's still a pretty hell of a career. So,
and it's so funny you bring up retirement. It's like, I don't ever have a thought process in my head of retirement, quote unquote. I always think of something else to do. This is what being brought up with an older dad. It's like he always said, well, I'm semi-retired. I have something in my head. He even kept one machine in our front yard, just in case he had an idea, which, that's another story. But I like the idea of always having something to do. It's like I always feel like the idea of if you're in retirement, you become Bear Bryant, 6 weeks later you're gone.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, what happened with Joe Paterno? Whatever happened to that thing, that's another story for another day. He was gone in 6 months. When I see this, very few people are Vince Scully, where you can live 6 years after your retirement. Very few. When you get yourself a routine in your life, constant routine, even if you're starting to fade away, you need that routine in your head. You die soon after.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? That's what kills people. And it's like, you might as well go on, unless you retire in your 50s and you find something else to do, don't. Because if your brain can keep going and you can keep doing, only thing I say is keep thinking new. Don't do what Tom Landry did and innovate the world in football and then forget about it completely when he turned his 60s.
Yeah.
And because that's exactly what happened. He turned into his 60s and the ultimate innovator completely just went old. And just don't do that. Be 80 and innovate. See if your head can get in there where you can constantly think what's new and what's going on in the world.
Yeah. I didn't think Bill Belichick became successful like he did because I can about guarantee you within them 20 years, football didn't stay the same. It evolved,
Yeah.
Remember Sean McVay, young McVay, all the rage. He's an offensive innovator. He met Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl, and what happened? Held him to 3 points. Bill has been able to adapt. He changed with the times. Changed with the times. And that's what it's all about.
We talk about Sean McVay. I have to ask this question. How much did Sean McVay talk to his grandpa, who was an NFL coach? How much? This is just theory. How much did he talk to him about football? His grandpa died like October 2022 or something. 2021, 2022, either way. I mean, he was 91 years old. I'm like, how? We don't know if John McVay's mind started going. We don't know if he was sharp to the end. We don't know. But hypothetically, how much did he talk to his grandpa about football? And how much all of that? And then with him gone, there is a first year now of a deal. It's like he's not doing so well. Of course, there are people that have learned how to beat them. And there's things, you're always going to have these deals. Unless you're Mike Tomlin and you don't have losing seasons. Everybody goes through this. And you have to wonder how much they talked to his grandpa about football. And how much, and his grandpa just died almost recently. How much did it affect him? Everything like that. Was he close with him or not?
That's true. I mean, I can't say that, because let's face it, you never want to lose a relative, like, you know what I mean? But I never get the feeling that it's like, well, you left me too soon. I wasn't ready. Like McVay won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He was ready as anything.
Oh, he got the 2 Super Bowls. But what I was saying is his grandpa was still alive.
Yes.
That's all I meant. His grandpa was still alive. Did it have anything? And I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying I know. But did his grandpa talk to him a lot? Did they talk about this thing, or was he around? Because he saw both of his grandkids' Super Bowls.
Yeah.
The loss and the win. He saw both of them. You'd assume, unless his thing. But it's like he was around for that. So you have to wonder now, how much would he have helped? How much everything like that? Did they have how close were they? And because only thing I'm thinking of is just the fact that the first year of him being gone, there's a struggle. That's why I just ask. And that he struggles, and that's what Pundits Pundit does. I want to wonder how a guy like, okay, I asked the question about Mike. I asked the question about Mike Tomlin, the guy who doesn't let anybody get into him. All of a sudden, throws a kid in that's way too early, and he'll take the losses that he would have never taken before.
Well,
I'm just saying, you ask questions. Yeah,
you ask questions. However, I will say that I think it would be fair to Sean McVay if you were to ask this question next year, after next season.
Sure.
Because, the year his grandpa died, they struggled. But to be fair, Stafford was injured, Kupp was injured, Donald's injured. That's 3 of your stars.
Yeah.
I would say ask that question after next season.
Sure.
If they struggle and all 3 of them are healthy, because I mean, like, I can't And don't get me wrong, like anybody would notice it, like, wow, his first like year without him and they struggle and everything. I get it, you know what I mean? Because we're creatures of habit and we also notice patterns. We notice when something breaks. You get what I'm saying? But in all fairness to the Rams, they didn't have him 3 that year. I'm not gonna judge them for that.
Yeah, and I always ask, like, I always ask 100 questions, and I like to bring these parts. I always ask these questions, like, why did I always put two and I always try to put like two. I don't put 2 plus 2 together. I probably put 2 to the third square. That kind of thing. It's like people that don't get the thing right away.
Your simple math equation has people using every letter of PEMDAS. But go ahead.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm that kind, and it's like I will say this: after all of those years of basically dominating and be a thing, what happened to Russell Wilson? And okay, in one case you say he had a horrible coach, he had a horrible coach. But I mean, even in Seattle, he had his moments. This was just miserable. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what happened? Like, could the media really just get to him that badly? I mean, it's just like, this is just the biggest sink I've ever seen in my life between incredible star and this. Literally what Brett Rippon was better than him.
Everyone wants to talk about, Nathaniel Hackett, and rightfully so. And I know, and shout out to Jordan Long. I know he's glad he's gone and everything, but this is less on him and more on the front office, because here's the thing. First of all, Russ just had a bad year. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he'll bounce back next year, or if that's the end, it remains to be seen. You know what I mean? But as far as Nathaniel Hackett goes, everyone is glossing over the obvious elephant in the room.
Yeah.
The reason why Nathaniel Hackett was hired as head coach for the Broncos was to attract Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Because him and Aaron Rodgers had been cool. He called plays for him and everything. He was the one that kept Aaron Rodgers level-headed, kept him grounded, kept him on earth, right? Yeah. The reason why they hired him was to attract Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was talking about leaving Green Bay. And then what happened? Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay. Now you're stuck with this fool over here. See, whenever you make moves like this, you got to accept how those dice fall, and this falls on the front office. It was a plan that backfired. It was a stupid plan that backfired. Frankly,
Well, it was, but it's like there isn't any of us in the world that would ever seen this kind of sinkhole that he went into this year at all. Now, mind you. Do I think he can recover next year with a real coach? Yes. But he will never be the same Russ. He will be the effective Russ. He won't be worth that kind of money. But it'll be an effective Russ that can win ball games. We brought it up with Trubisky earlier. Is that guy that he's going to be Bradshaw at his best. It's going to be effective. He's going to make less mistakes. You're not going to do a pile of things with him. But guess what? It's going to be outside of what Russ is. But it's going to have to be a new type of Russell Wilson. It's not a star anymore. But I mean, just take a look at one guy. Remember the interception against the Rams? That second interception, he flicked that sucker 45 yards with his wrist. Yeah, that's still an athlete. There's still something you can do with that.
There is.
Because he's just not the star that's going to absorb anymore. It's a different game.
And some people will tell you he never was a star in Seattle. He was a game manager.
Yeah, but he definitely wasn't the sinkhole. He was the hero in a lot of ways, in a lot of those games.
Now, at one point in time, I did, and it was just, I would say about 4 years ago, I did say that he was the king at doing more with less. Because Russ had no offensive line. He's never had superstar receivers, let's face it. Because Lockett's good, but he's never been a top 5. Yeah. Doug Baldwin's good, but he's never been a top 5.
Yeah. You know who else was before he finally won his World Series with stars? Dusty Baker. He was the king of doing the most with less.
Absolutely.
I mean, good Lord, he was getting them to playoffs and World Series and NFCSs and ALCSs with like Nefi Perez.
Yeah.
I mean, who's like 228 all the time. It's like, but he was because I can see the reason. And this is what happens with me. And I would say there is an element, even though I get tired of people thinking fantasy is real. there's an element of real in the idea of your brain having to go back and forth. You make mistakes with your brain and you make the right decisions.
Right.
Part of my brain doesn't compute that I need to settle down and let it be right. I mean, I've made so many mistakes on fantasy football. I've made so many mistakes in life, in real life and everything, because I don't have the capability to think, something, I can let this go. I can get to this thing. This looks good. I'm always afraid it's going to be an injury. I've always got to be there. But then when you notice me, like in this game this year, I was 3-6, and then I snuck in.
Yeah.
At the end. That's because the 3-6 is where my brain is so comfortable when everybody else is flailing, when everybody else is like injuries are coming. That's where I shine.
Yeah. And then you look up and you're in the playoffs and you're like, whoa, I'm not supposed to be here.
I have it in my head that I'm supposed to be there. I do that because in my head is so, and it could be where I'm going against the Sacco thing or whatever. My head is more comfortable piecing things out of nowhere. I'll get these wins completely out of the blue because I'm so comfortable in my head. It is where everything is right, where my head always, it happened in tests too. I'd be ready for tests and I'd throw up on the side of the road. I did that as a kid. Then I get a 57 on it. And it's like, it wasn't until I became an actor. It wasn't until I became an actor and I got a black belt in Taekwondo where that stopped. Where I got calm and everything. But I used to do that. And it's like your head still freezes up. Oh my God, they're going to have an injury this week. And then I got to and then you overthink it and you screw up. And it's like, it's where I make all my right moves or almost all the right moves when everything is behind, when everything is just, I am just pinned, and then I make the upsets. Yeah. Then I get the.
And the thing is you play fantasy football long enough, it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Because it happened to me last year in our other league, in the Gauntlet League. Oh man, I drafted well across the board, and I ended up doing not that good. I drafted Derrick Henry, dude gets injured. That was 1 year, like I drafted my 2 quarterbacks. I had Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I was like, I'm going to tear it up. Freaking Rodgers goes down versus Minnesota, breaks his collarbone.
Yeah.
I hadn't drafted him since.
See, and you bring that part. That's what gets me. So when they're in my head, always thinks when they're injured, when that shit, when what do you call it? The shit hits the fan. Oh, good. Okay, go through this thing here. Oh, you know something? He's going to be playing. He's the third string. He's going to be playing this week. I mean, I just love it. To me, I'm a good Monopoly player. I'm a poker player. I play chess. I love the pieces. I love moving the pieces. That's where I make the upsets and everything. Now, I can admit, my brain needs to stop if I'm kicking butt. It needs to slow down. I know this.
It works out better for you in Monopoly and then what you said poker.
Poker, yeah.
Because you control the outcome.
Yeah.
In fantasy football, you could have an awesome top to bottom. You can strategize as much as you want, but at the end of the day, someone else controls the outcome. You're not starting running back for the Raiders. You're not the starting quarterback for the Ravens. Yeah. You're not the 49ers defense. You're not the starting tight end for the Dolphins. You put them on your team, but they got to go out there and execute or not.
Yeah. I got 2 more questions because we're going to hit the end, but I've had an awesome time, man. This has been great.
It's been awesome, dude. It is.
It has been. I love this show. I think we're going to have so much fun with this. Okay, 2 more questions. First off, how did you get involved with Sideline?
So, a lot of you all, have caught me on the Gauntlet and everything. And so the Gauntlet show was spun up by James Tatum. He saw how good Megan showed. Shout out to Megan Price, 806 Sports, doing big things, and also still beasting on the sip off. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do an NFL show." I started off as a recurring guest, and then eventually he just brought me aboard and was like, "Hey, won't you, co-host?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem," And so we had done so good, and I first ran into Sideline Sports by way of the NBA Carousel. Megan told me about it. hey, everyone's got a team. Come on there and talk about the Rockets. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll come on there. We're not doing that good, but I'll go in there and give it a shot. And then her and Jen just kept on having me back. And when I first met JB,
Yeah.
it's crazy because like he would come on after the show and he would like talk to like Megan, and he'd be in his room and it'd be all dark. So he'd have this like gatekeeper, dungeon master kind of vibe going on. Like it's funny, and it's like I can hear his accent. I know he's from New York. You know what I mean? I know that much about him and stuff. And so, well, anyway, come on there and everything. I'm still doing the carousel. Of course, I'm shouting out, the gauntlet. Everybody watch the gauntlet and everything and so forth. He happened to catch it. So he hits me out of the blue one night and it's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, watching wrestling and everything.
Yeah.
So then he's like, hey, what do you think about bringing the gauntlet to Sideline Sports? Because we were independent at the time. I was like, oh shoot, man, that'd be great. I'm like, let me discuss it with he was like, hey, there's nothing's in stone yet, because at the time, Sideline Sports was in its infancy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Journey
so
with the Jays. Started at Journey with the Jays.
it started with Journey with the Jays, yes, you know what I mean? And so I think it officially got the Sideline Sports label a year ago at this time, I think. Yeah. And so happy 1 year anniversary. So with that being said, he was like, hey, let me go find some more details. I'll let you know when to tell the guys. And so like a couple weeks later, he was like, yeah, it's okay. So I put a guy to the side and I was like, I've been keeping something from you guys. I'm sorry, but JB hit me up. He wants us to come over to Sideline Sports and everything. And they were all excited and stuff. And I was really happy for them, because it's like, man, we're getting recognized. We're getting good. And we came over to Sideline Sports and the rest is history.
Okay, and it's like I can say this my end real quick. I was living with my brother at the time, and I had a whole huge basement for a nice little studio thing, even though I didn't have the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided I'm going to do Pundit Points. So I started Pundits Pundit. I had the idea, but it's Pundit Points, and just getting the idea, and then I get on Journey with the Jays, one show, and then they liked it, but it's like they liked it, and they said, "Why don't you just come on with us?" And it was pretty cool, and it's like. And ever since then, I got to meet all of you, and it's been fun. And I've gotten a bunch of different shows ever since. Gotten to meet Scott Morganroth, who's on our thing. We're at Basket Bros. This is like the sixth show I'm dealing with.
Yep.
This is crazy, and it's like it works with it. Now this is the final. We are down to a couple minutes left, and I wanted to bring it. This is going to be a three-parter. I'm going to ask these things. It's going to be like James Lipton a little bit.
All right.
First part. If you're a GM. Pick your team. You're the GM. Pick your team. They're 0-17. You just got hired, brand spanking new GM. What are your moves? What are you doing? What kind of quarterback you getting? And where are you focused? Are you run game, defense? What are you looking?
Oh, most definitely. GM of the Texans. We're about as close to 0-17 as you can get. The first thing I'm doing is I'm letting Lovie Smith know that he's staying, that we're riding with him. That defense is a lot better than advertised, and they're young.
Mm-hmm.
So watch out for them in the next couple of years. It could be return to the Bulls. The quarterback I'm going after is Bryce Young. Didn't work out with Deshaun Watson, but you got another mobile quarterback, a Heisman Trophy winner out there. Bama quarterbacks, they don't do too bad in the league. I mean, there's only a couple of guys named Ken Stabler and Broadway Joe. And oh man, who else was there? There was another one. Bart Starr. Guys like that make it and everything. So I'm hoping we get Bryce Young or even CJ Stroud, but I'm taking Bryce Young.
We'll give you Will Levis.
No, I don't want Levis and Butthead.
All right.
Second question. Go ahead.
Finish up yours.
I know. I'm getting another back alongside Dameon Pierce to take the pressure off him. Also.
Good. Second question. You wake up, President of the United States. You are President of the United States. You've got run of the country. You're the commander in chief since you've been, all that kind of stuff like that. What is your number one? What's your number one thing you're gonna be working on? What is your number one issue?
Number one issue? Oh man. I would say our number one issue is I'm going to drop inflation and get rid of it. Gotcha. It's
This will
time.
be a part of the
It's time to
question.
make. It's time to make it livable again.
I want to ask
You
you this
know.
question. I want to ask you this question. I just want to get this real fast. You're going to drop inflation. You want to be able to get to all this. To a people that might, to a black population that might say, you're not going to help us, what would you say to them?
I would say, let's see, with dropping inflation, it makes things more affordable, more livable. And also, I will do things to ensure opportunities, so no discrimination whenever you get a black family that can afford $100,000 house, and you are hearing about these situations where a house was appraised at this much. I'm pretty sure you heard about it, racism in realtor.
Yep.
Yeah. So a black family, they come over, they appraise it, and it's this much. It's like, no way, we've done this, and this to it. I know it's more than that. So then what they'll do is they'll go and they hire their white friend and be like, oh yeah, well this is my house or whatever, and just appraise that more. Well, we're gonna cut that out. We have better opportunities for those who can actually afford a home like that, and just like across the board when it comes to schooling, when it comes to jobs and everything like that, just make it fair across the board.
That's good. And a third one, and I'll bring it to the end here. You a forever. Are you a husband and wife, couple of kids type of guy, or are you forever a bachelor?
One day I do want a wife, and I do want a family. Um, at this point, I just kind of leave it to God. I do
Absolutely.
want it. I do want that one day. I do
Yeah.
feel like it's going to happen one day. But it'll happen when it's time. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Understood.
I would like to, check that off the list at some point in time. You know what I mean?
Hey, there's no hurry on the thing. We already know that part. Well, dude, this was an unbelievable first show. You have to admit that. That's like I said,
It
not a
was.
minute over an hour. Boy, I was wrong.
Well, you know how you and I get. Yeah.
Everybody keeps worrying and it's like, are you sure you want to do 30 minutes? I'm like, I said 30 to 45, but not a minute over an hour, and I banged that one. I already killed
Yeah.
that. So no, and I appreciate Jen, but Jen, I hope you're around. I want you to come in and thank you, because we want to thank you. I hope she's around.
I don't think she is. Did you text her?
Yeah, I texted her. That's why I was saying I want her to be. I want to give the first show thank you for her.
Well, let me call her real fast.
Yeah.
And say, hey, get over here.
Oh man.
I mean, like, Jacob's calling you, and you're. It's just. Hold on.
You done?
Jacob's calling you on the air.
I'm saying, come on in.
Okay, am I ending it or what?
No.
Well, yeah. Well, no. He wants you to come on camera real quick.
Okay? We want to thank you.
I have no volume. Tell him I can't.
You have no volume?
No.
Ask her if she's
And
here.
we have a friend over right now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, she's here.
Okay.
Hey,
tell her.
yeah.
Tell her we're about to end and we're going to the thing, and we appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, we're about to end. Give us 1 minute and then cut it.
Okay.
All right,
sorry.
sweet. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess she had no sound, man.
What the way to end? We're here to tell the producer over the phone.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, Jen, everybody right here, and guess what? I intend to have people like Dan Severn around. I intend to have big names on, but I'm gonna have Sideline on also. Everybody on Sideline's eventually gonna be on here. And it's going to be, and it's like that's gonna be that. We're gonna have this world. And I hope you can watch every show, and I hope you can get this, because I intend to be able to because I want the world to understand what Sideline is and where we're going to go at. And that's another one of these shows that's going to do that.
Yes.
And it's
absolutely. And there's one more. It's one more in that, so we got a plethora of shows.
Well, for Jay Nelson, I'm Jacob Christner. Thank you, Jen. We love you to death. Have a good night.